Your Help presents Stress-Free Living with Ray Somich and Mr. Stress-Free Ratanjit S. Sondhe. This audio program is an unscripted and unrehearsed conversation between Ray and Ratanjit. It is shared with you in hope of adding value to your life. We encourage you to listen to this program in its entirety to receive the full impact of its message. Sit back, relax, open your heart, mind, and soul to this edition of Stress-Free Living.
This is Stress-Free Living. I'm Ray Somich. Welcome to our program today. I'd like to introduce everybody to my longtime co-host and dear friend, Ratanjit Sondhe. Ratanjit, how are you today?
Wonderful, Ray. How are you? It's always good to be with you.
Always good to be with you and our other Zoom guests that are with us here today from all over, in this case today, across the country and up into Canada as well. Whether you are joining us by Zoom, whether you are listening on the radio in the Cleveland area, AM or FM stations, or anywhere in the world on the internet, or maybe you are catching us and post-event on Stress-Free Living radio channel on YouTube. However you are catching us, we welcome you and we thank you so much for giving us some of your time as we share some thoughts with you. Ratanjit, I think we have an interesting, really interesting title today, interesting topic, because perhaps we have never been a busier society than we are today. We have so many things that we need to do, so many opportunities to do more, so many modern conveniences and technology that has enabled us to do more than anybody could have ever imagined in our lifetime. And we are busy. People are doing so much. And yet, at the very core, I think more people are bored than ever. So busy, yet so bored is the topic here today. What is going on, Ratanjit? We used to be bored, and so we would get busy. Now we get busy, so we get and we get bored. What is going on? What do you think?
Well, see, ultimately, we are not connected to our what I like to do. If you really like to do something, and then it is very engaging and you don't get bored. A lot of the time, you end up doing things because you have to do certain things. And as a consequence, you are waiting for, okay, let me finish that, and then I'll get to what I want to do. And then after finishing, and that's why people hate their job and they can't wait for retirement, because when I retire, I'm going to really do what I want to do. And after retirement, they still end up, after taking some vacations or few things here and there, they start getting bored. So this boredom doesn't leave us. And there is an essential link which is missing, which we'll talk about today.
Yeah, and before you throw that out there, I just want to talk a little bit more about what you've just said, because that's, to me, that is very significant and something that maybe most of us don't think about to that extent. I mean, you do hear people say, I don't like my job, or you hear people say, I know I'm in a rut for whatever it is, rut with my life, rut with my family life, with my work life, whatever it is, they admit to being bored in those details. But I never really thought about perhaps how many people are just bored with life in general because they just don't like their life. And they're not doing what really brings them any joy, what really does make them feel fulfilled. And now that you have suggested that, I am thinking of how many times I've kind of witnessed that or seen that in others, and moments in my own life. And I'm very grateful it's only moments, it's not every day. But there's a lot of people I know that you have just described. And it's very sad. A lot of people that I do say, hey, how are you? And they have no excitement in their voice, no positivity in their voice. It's like, I'm working, I'm taking the kids to piano lessons and to soccer practice and to ballet lessons, and then I come home and go to sleep, and then I wake up the next morning and I do it all again. And then we just had a vacation. Well, did you have fun? No, this went bad and this was wrong, and the flights were delayed and the hotel was not good. And it's like they're so miserable with everything. And it's like, are you just explaining I mean, this is pretty sad as an opening of the show, but that really seems to be the case for a lot of people, doesn't it?
Yeah, but see, Ray, when you started life as a kid, so you said you're told to go to school, get education, so that you can get a better job. When you have a good job, you can buy the car you want, you can buy the home you want, and you can have the most beautiful spouse you can think of, and you'll have a great life. You'll enjoy. So you put our enjoyment on hold. So you go through the drill of going through school, doing homework, and doing all that. Many of us are not really excited about even education, because this is something which we want to do so that I can get good grades. And you have 4 cups of coffee in the night, and so you stay awake, and so that you can memorize, so that you have this exam coming up, and then you nervously go to exam and wait. And so this life goes on, the student life. So many students end up committing suicide. So when you go through this drill and somehow you became an engineer or a doctor or a scientist or MBA or whatever you have done, and now you found a job, and then you thought, now it's going to be great. I'm going to buy the car, I'm going to buy the home, I'm going to get married. So this thing doesn't stop. At a job, the things you are asked to do, many of these things you have no interest in. And so your whole life suddenly, and then you finally found your love and you get married, and you don't realize so many other things undesirable comes with that union. And you have to sacrifice many things. And then you have children. My goodness, whatever free time you had is gone. And you have to go into this drill and don't realize that what I have gone through, I'm putting the same thing to my children. You don't alter the path at all. It's the same path. So ultimately, your inner soul, your inner self is not connected. You're going through this life without engaging yourself. No wonder.
And what you're saying is so true, Ratanjit. And then just to fast forward it to the end of that, after you do give your 30 or 40 years of being a father or mother and a grandparent and doing the job, working in the workforce and all those other kind of things, then you look forward to saying, okay, my pot of gold is going to come when I retire, right? When I retire, I'm finally going to be able to do what I want and have that fulfillment of life. So I've given up maybe my first 60, 70 years, but now I'm going to be able to do it. And then as you know, and as we've talked about, either health issues don't allow you to do that, or a lot of people pass away crazily as soon as they retire. That there's a major connection there because of the lifestyle change. Or maybe the worst situation is you do retire, you do live many more years, but you're still not happy. You're still bored and you're still not fulfilled. So it's like, gee, all these opportunities to have these fabulous lives, and a lot of people live their life in busy boredom. I've got to ask you if you think this has anything to do with it. When I was a kid, of course, when we were youngsters, it was such a different world. There was no internet. There was, there was no technology to spend any time with, no video games and all the things that kids have today. So I would go to my mother. I remember when I was a little kid, 6, 7, 8 years old, and I would say, I'm bored. I would tell my mom I'm bored. And she would always say, go outside. She would always say, go outside, because the outside of the house was a whole different world. There you could, if it was summertime, you could watch, butterflies, and you could climb trees, and you could, there was just so many things that you could enjoy. The sun, you could just see things and do things and run around wild and free because you're not inside a house. In the wintertime, the snow gave you so many opportunities to build things and have fun in it and all those kind of things. I always found creativity and excitement outdoors. And it was like, if you're in the house, you're locked in, you got rules. If you go out of the house, you could do anything. And, within reason as a kid. Does that have something to do with it? Is there a connection with the boredom that we are experiencing today and what I reflect on in my own life as a little kid, what my mother told me?
Absolutely. Creativity is the key, Ray, because what happens is what our science or commerce or our society has done is, everything is made easy now. Remember growing up, I don't know whether typically when you buy a car, you knew how to fix it. You took pride in it.
Right.
And today, there's no way you can fix it.
No, it's all computer technology, everything. Yeah.
And nothing anymore you can do. You almost feel useless. And you are not tapping your innate creativity. You are not engaging the real you. You are all going through drills of habits or certain things which are learned to do. And with all this automation, you are putting the human being to sleep. And we are sleepwalking. We are bored because we are sleepwalking. We are not awake. To awaken us, we have to allow us to tap on the most living thing within us, our creativity and our own innate intelligence. And until we tap those things and engage them, you don't feel fulfilled. So it is absolutely the reason that we are not feeling fulfilled, Ray.
But we're at the same time as you say that, with my grandchildren, I am watching 3 and 4-year-olds get educated beyond where I was taught when I was 7 years old. In preschool, they're able to know the alphabet, they're able to count, they're able to do some basic understanding of addition. As 4 years old, I didn't learn that, I don't think, until 1st grade or 2nd grade. Some of the things that they're learning 3 or 4 years earlier. And some of these kids, they're in 3rd or 4th, 5th grade, and they can do programming. They understand coding for basic computer programming. I didn't learn that until I was 20 years old, how to do computer programming. How can we be teaching so much and kids are learning so much earlier, and yet we have this other issue? That doesn't seem to make sense to me, that we've learned so much earlier, and yet we're bored so much earlier.
See, what like you talk about calculators and all that. We were given the understanding of math, and then we were left to ourselves to figure out to calculate. Today, I was at a grocery store, and there was lights were off, and the computer were not working. and they couldn't check us out because they could not add or subtract.
Yeah.
So we are so dependent on this outside help that we don't use our brain. And when I came to this country, when I started my business in 73, in early years, I used to travel all around US. I used to put 80,000 miles on my car in a year.
Wow.
And Ray, you have to have map, you have to figure out where you are going,
Right.
and all that. And today you sit in the car and just put that address and you sit and watch, and you are bored. You are not even engaging your basic skills. So this thing is going to convert us into a potato couch, and we sit and watch television, and because we are bored, and then we keep switching channels because no channel engages us, and we have nothing else to do, or we sit on the computer and watch all kinds of crazy things. And the most popular thing in this world is all these blue movies, all these crazy things. Bad things are more popular than the good things.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, we only have 300 TV channels, most of us, to choose from. So it's easy to get bored. And we grew up, the famous joke is that we had 3 channels. I mean, and it's funny, if you didn't like what was on all 3, you still found one and listened and watched it because it was okay. But now you can have 300 and it's like, no, I don't like any of them. It's crazy. Well, I don't know what the solution is. I think you have it. So I think what we're going to do is take a break here, maybe just a couple minutes early, take a quick break. And then I want you to reveal what the reason is for our boredom. You've got that. You figured this out, right?
Well, we'll try together.
Okay. This is Stress-Free Living. We're wondering if our boredom is crazily creating stress. Is our busyness creating stress in our life? That's the question that we're asking today. And we hopefully will come up with a solution. Please stay with us. Stress-Free Living. Be right back in a moment. All right. To our distinguished guests, anybody like to say anything?
Yeah, Ray, Steve Marsh speaking.
Yes,
Hi,
Steve.
Hi. So the answer is right in front of us, I think. I really have 2 sort of comments. One is, even today, so I don't have to go to meet Dr. Sondhe and you at a place. I sit on my phone, I turn it on for an hour, I'm done. And then what do I do with the rest of my time? If I had to go to his place, I'd have to drive out, you'd come, these other people would come, we'd have discussion, it would lead to something else. This is one time. We're on for an hour, we're done. Where does it lead to? It ends right there. So this whole electronic thing that you were referring to, we don't engage as many people. We do it for an hour and we're done. So when you had to go where, you drove, you found the place, you got some more excitement, you were engaged. So that's one. The second point is, if I go back to earlier discussions with Dr. Sondhe, it was about his whole thing about life is adding value. And when you're turning on the TV or you were talking here, it's not adding value. If instead of this morning, we were all working on at a food bank and passing things out with other people, feeling good about helping other people, working with other people, you're adding value, you feel better about life and yourself. But we don't do that. It's easier to sit and watch you guys or watch TV or this. And so those 2 that's the thrust of my thing.
Very good. Thank you. I'm monitoring here. I think we have a little more time. If anybody else would like to add something, I will have to cut you off if we run over. Yeah, we got another 30 seconds. Anybody? That's okay if not. Okay, we can run with those. Those are good thoughts. Steve, thank you. Okay, we're back. We are back on Stress-Free Living. Ratanjit, Sondhe, yours truly, Ray Somich, with you, and talking on our break, as we usually do with our Zoom guests and visitors. So Ratanjit, I want to before we get to the big reveal here, that's the big word, reveal. Like if you're going to reveal, if you're having a little baby boy or little girl, when a couple is, or an individual is about to have a baby, they call it the reveal. So we're going to give the reveal here on what you think the solution is to our boredom. But in the meantime, one of our Zoom guests here suggested that they know part of the reason that we didn't really touch on in detail. So I wanted to share and see your thoughts on that. One is that the technology, as fabulous as it is around us, actually provides less engagement than we are used to. We used to have to drive to a meeting, spend the time, see all the things on the way there, meet other people while we were at the site, drive back to where we were coming from and re-engage all along the way. So everything was kind of an experience in our life. And today, technology and the Zoom call that we're on right now, you go to your office, you put your computer on, you do what you need to do, you close your computer, and you're back to, normalcy, if you will, and maybe back to boredom. And you've eliminated so much of the real world engagement. Do you agree with that? And do you think that's part of the problem?
Well, yes, Ray, but you see, the thing is, what this technology has done is given us more free time, supposedly.
Right.
And then we use that free time in getting more involved in, instead of having meeting with one person at it, or instead of seeing 3-4 people driving to their home and having sit down and have conversation, now I can have 10 meetings or 20 meetings a day.
Right.
And suddenly, and what happens is it has also increased the stress. But if my meetings are all about what is in it for me, what do I gain from it? Because see, again, going back to understanding, if we are engaged in fulfilling the need of our 5 senses, what looks good, what tastes good, what I enjoy in the sense of bodily 5 senses, then eventually the inner you is going to get bored. And that's where the boredom comes. We are not connected to ourselves. It's like this. If there are 5 people in the room, and most of the conversation is dominated by 3 or 4 people, and one person is not even given a chance to speak, or nobody hears them, and that person has something to say.
I didn't get the paper. It's all ice.
Which is important. And so that person is going to get bored in that meeting, right?
Right.
So,
Right.
Similarly, in our human system, there is a party within us which is not being engaged. And that party does not get engaged in gossip. That party does not get engaged in anything until we selflessly make a difference, add value. And that is why the whole system, our holistic thing, we are not just our eyes, we are not just our taste or our human body. So we are basically engaging the human body, but not our intellectual self. And that is why we are ultimately bored.
I'd like to go back. You gave an example, and it was a perfect example. If we used to schedule 3 appointments a day because you had to allow a couple of hours for each appointment. So if you push, maybe you got 4 done and you drove all over the city to get 4 done. But today, literally, you can sit at your computer with Zoom and you could probably fit 20 appointments in a day if you really wanted to, instead of, because you drove all over doing 3 or 4. So that is a very realistic, astute example of how technology has improved our life. Now, on the surface, if I'm talking to 20 people instead of 4, if I'm engaged with 4 different people, and maybe I'm a tax advisor or financial planner, maybe I'm an interior decorator, whatever the job is that I have, that I'm engaging with these people. Maybe I'm just a salesman trying to present my wares, my services to 20 different people. I should be more invigorated by this. I should be more excited because I've been able to talk to 20 people about what I can do for them and how I can help them and what my products are that can serve them, and consulting that I can give them, tax advice, whatever it is. I'm now talking to 20 people, and relative to the world of billions, it's still just a tiny dot, but it's 5 times more than I could have done before technology. So why isn't that exciting? Why isn't that invigorating to me, that I can talk to 100 people a week instead of 12 people a week? Why doesn't the basis of this growth of technology, this exponential growth, why isn't that stimulating?
So take 2 friends, and this one friend is all about making money and taking advantage of people. What is in it for me?
Okay.
The other friend, really very sensitive, wants to understand others, wants to make a difference. And if this one friend who is all for himself dominates, does not allow the other friend to experience what he's there to, that the other person is going to get bored. He says, gosh, I'm just going there, and he's all about for himself. So ultimately, if our 5 meetings were all about what I can do for me, increase my money, increase my business, now I can do 20, I have more money. But if my 5 meetings were all about making a difference, and in the process, I can make money too. But ultimately, it is making a difference to others, serving others. And now if I can do 20, I'll be more satisfied. But the problem is that our direction itself was wrong. It doesn't matter if you have one wrong thing you are able to do, now you can do 20 wrong things. So it's only going to make you more frustrated, more disconnected. What I'm saying, Ray, is our inner self, our soul wants to make a difference. Our soul wants to add value. Our joy or happiness or real joy comes from making a difference. Supposing I'm coming from LA to Cleveland, and I had a long day, and finally I sat in the plane, and I'm sitting in the first class with nice seat and comfortable, and suddenly a person walks in a wheelchair, and the person is hardly able to walk. And somehow I feel, and then they put her in the back seat, and then she says, "Where is my seat?" She says, "Ma'am, your seat is in the back." So this person says, "Oh my God, this is not good." So he said, "Madam, you sit in my seat." So if I gave my seat to that person, I sat in the back, although I'm very uncomfortable sitting in the back, but I would have the best flight of my life because my soul has been satisfied. Although I'm alienating my 5 senses, I'm not comfortable sitting there. I'm all those things, but it makes me feel internally happy. So that is the secret. So all our training, all our life's direction is what is in it for me. And that is why even in a job, we are or employer says, I don't care about this. All I'm interested in efficiency, making money. So you cannot even help your fellow human beings.
We have the time. Let's take that example that you just gave us all on the giving up your first class seat and moving to the back of the plane for somebody else. I happen to be flying quite a bit these days. And so when I have not been flying first class. I've just been flying in the middle of the planes or the back of the planes. When you walk through that front section, it's almost a difficult thing to do, because for whatever reason, either the people in that section feel guilty about sitting there. So they kind of, they feel bad that all these people are walking by them, and maybe what we're thinking of them as being, wealthy snobs or something. I don't know what's in their mind, but you can see that they're a little bit, protective, a little bit embarrassed. Or you have the opposite. You have the people that are real bold and confident, and they kind of look you up and down as you're walking by, as if to say, we're sitting in here and you have to sit in the peasant seats. I've just noticed that on these flights so often that it's uncomfortable to walk through that section, because I feel bad for the people that are feeling bad about sitting there, because there's no reason why they should. They worked hard to pay for those seats. And I feel uncomfortable with the people that are giving me the look over as if I don't qualify to sit in those seats. You've accidentally touched on a topic here that is kind of a little bit of a burr in my saddle, because it's like the people that are in there I don't think they're happy there. I mean, they are happy because of the comfort, but I think they're uncomfortable with the human aspect of it, in terms of being raised to the top and sitting in that deluxe seat. And I'm not sure if I'm communicating this effectively, if it's making sense, but
see, Ray, it doesn't matter people sitting in the front or in the back. We're all unhappy, and we are trying to convince ourselves that I'm somehow better, and so I should be happy. So whether it is a first class seat I'm sitting in, or I'm driving a big car, or I live in a big home, or whatever it is a show off so that I am better. But you can enjoy those things if they come to you by a route where you have added value, because nature does not make anything mediocre. We are not supposed to have anything mediocre. We have failed to understand what is capitalism. Capitalism is basically going for the best we can have, going for the best we can deliver, but not at the cost of others. And that is where the problem is. If we can all go simultaneously together, that is capitalism. Otherwise, in the name of capitalism, we are misusing ourselves to be, I am better than you. And that whole scenario is ultimately causing you to face your own self. You cannot hide from yourself. You can hide from the rest of the world. And your own self does not declare that you should be happy. You cannot be happy. Regardless of how many millions of dollars you have, how many millions of things you have, it is still going to keep you unhappy and depressed, and that is why we are bored.
But I have a little question though from that, because we've spent many times talking about how we can't control anybody but ourselves.
Right.
We can't have expectations for others to be positive or a certain way in their response. We can try to inspire and motivate, but we really can't cause other people to do what we want them to do. We can only be responsive to what they want and what they do.
But it is
So
through our reaction we can make others happy, Ray. In a room, imagine there are 5 people, they're all grouch, all complaining, all that. Can you be happy in that room?
it's tough. It's tough to do it.
But you can create an environment through which you can bring happiness, because you become the catalyst of joy. You become the catalyst of finding, you can reduce people's pain, suffering. And at the same time, that act gives you a inner happiness, inner peace, self-worth. Your self-worth comes from what yourself think of you. Your self-worth is not your net worth. Self-worth is not something which you can connect to the things you own, the money you have. That does not give you self-worth. Self-worth is what your inner self think of you.
But if I'm not sure if we all have, I shouldn't say that, but for those of us that have been in a situation where you do walk into a room with 4 or 5 negative people that are complaining about everything, and they're depressed and discouraged, and this is bad and this is wrong and everything else, it's so easy, Ratanjit, to just commiserate with them. It's so easy just to join that group and to spell out everything you're unhappy with. Okay, it really takes an effort, and it takes confidence, self-confidence, to go in there and break that mood and to bring life and happiness and a moment of joy and inspiration to that group. It's is that really doable? Do we really think that we have the ability to bring that ray of sunshine to the misery that surrounds us sometimes?
But see, that's where a sense of humor is so important, Ray. And the sense of humor is not about making fun of somebody else. If you can make fun of yourself and make people laugh in that room, that will break the ice. And suddenly you switch the direction of the talk. And I've done that many, many times. And it is all about your adding value. Adding value doesn't mean that you have to give something to somebody. Adding value can be just a beautiful joke, or just a goodwill which you bring in. Just yourself, your energy coming into the room itself is so powerful. If it is positive, it will make a difference.
I don't know if people can take this element alone, this 1-minute element of this show, into their lives, but I don't know if we realize how many opportunities we have to change the mood, whether it's just with one person or with a group of people, in any situation, in your office, wherever you may be. We really are constantly presented with that opportunity. And I think our first human instinct, if you will allow me to say that, is just to kind of go in, to blend in with them. It's an easy way to be considered one of them, one of their friends, because we do have, we share this attitude, this negativity, this feelings of some despair, whatever it is. It's so easy to go along with that. It absolutely is harder to be that ray of sunshine in amongst those clouds. But you're dead on right. I mean, if you do bring that element of humor, even if it's self-deprecating, whatever it might be, and you kind of just change the mood, you have really done so much to potentially change those people's lives, at least for that hour or for that day, but maybe even on a more permanent basis because of that positivity. So love that thought. We have much more to talk about, because I think we're just starting to understand how we can eliminate boredom from our busy lives. Ratanjit, I'm sure you've got more for us. So we're going to come back in just a moment and get the rest of the story as we try to remove some of the stress from your life. This is Stress-Free Living. Stress-Free Living. We'll be right back. Stress-free leaving. That's a new one. All right. Who has a thought? Anybody else? We had Steve's last time. Doug, do you have anything, or Dr. Jagjeet?
Well, I can.
No, I agree with Ratanjit. So, well, whatever we can add value, if adding value at any moment, at any time, I think that will be away from boredom.
Adding value eliminates boredom. Got it. Okay.
Yeah.
Doug, you had something?
Well, I was just going to say, when Ratanjit said something about making something toward himself so he could laugh at himself, and it kind of changed the theme of the meeting if it was going negative. And I was in some situations where I wouldn't do that. I guess I was too self-conscious that I didn't want to make fun of myself, but I would always try to come up with a positive comment to make, or a real positive, good story. As in, well, look at this, this team did this and was very successful, just to try to change the mood of the meeting, if you will. So I would do that a fair amount. And of course, going back to the very beginning of the show, when you talked about as a child, what your mother said, go outside and play. We did it all the time. That's all we did, because I was in a very small town. We played outside all day long, all night, up at night. It's hard for kids to do that these days because of the worry about, is it safe? Is it really safe to be out there? So it's that part makes it a different world. And of course, then we go on to a lot of other things. Just that to start with here, I guess.
Yeah. My friends often share that with me. We'd leave, we'd have breakfast and we'd be gone, and we wouldn't come back until, 8:00 at night, and nobody ever worried about us. Right.
Exactly. And we were lucky enough to have neighbors that had children our same age. So we played with those kids.
We are back on Stress-Free Living, and really enjoy our conversations with our fabulous Zoom guests. We invite you to be a part of those conversations with us, and that link you can find. We can actually send it to you if you want to email us and let us know. We can send out a reminder. Ratanjit kindly does that every single week, but you can also find that link on our website, on our Facebook page, and at Stress-Free Living Radio on our YouTube channel. Ratanjit, we're getting some reinforcement from our guests here that are saying, yes, we've hit a bit of a nerve with this last thought in terms of changing people's mindsets, changing the mood, touching people in a way, adding value to them, making them laugh, giving some positivity. And, so much of our boredom, going back to our core topic, is, I think, being miserable with whatever we're doing or not doing well, or stuck doing that we don't want to do. And just some element of positivity to that. If we can bring some of our own positivity to it, we're not only changing our own attitude, getting rid of our own boredom, but we potentially are doing that for the entire group of people that we are working with. So is that part of the solution here? Is positive energy, is creative thinking of what we can do, what we can say, how we can act, that will change this misery to positivity?
Well, see, if we give our work a purpose, supposing you are working in a factory and your product is, like, I'll give you an example. We used to make pavement marking, these lines which go on the highway, yellow and white lines.
Mm-hmm.
But our lines have longer life. They will last 5 to 10 years as compared to half a year or 1 year or something like that. So when our people working in the plant who are just putting material together, and it's a difficult, hard work. And when we get them in the conference room and show them statistics that our product saves life. So I would tell them that anytime you lift these things, think that how many lives you are going to save by doing that. So once they have that purpose, we find the productivity increase on a plant. You get engaged. We are living a life without a purpose. We are not connecting the dots. And we are all helping each other. Even if you are making one component of something else and that component is able to, and until you relate that on a regular, constant basis, and instead of saying that we have made a sale of so many dollars today, you could say that this today we'll be able to save that many lives, or we are able to affect that many lives. We don't say that. So we are not connecting a purpose to our life. Our life needs to be purpose-filled. If you have a purpose in life, then you have a desire to live. You have a desire to connect. And there is no time to get bored. You are trying to save lives. And see, even in a profession as noble as medical profession is, if doctor's mind get part into making money, that I'm here to make money, I'm going to do more operations so that I can make money, more money, that doctor will get bored. That doctor would have higher stress. But if you are focusing on really saving lives and making a positive difference, and that is what you enjoy, you can do a operation which requires 8, 9, 10 years of standing. And even after that, you feel great about that operation.
So wonderful thoughts. I mean, brilliant thoughts to talk about. For the careers like that, a doctor is a perfect example, engineer, people that can change lives by their work. To keep them motivated and inspired and on focus to do what they need to do with the right purpose, with the right intent, change lives. I think everybody can get that. Okay. Everybody understands that a doctor can change people, can heal people or make them feel better, at least, if not heal them. And that's a meaningful life that they need to stay with. Excuse me. But there are many people right now that may be listening this that says, but my job doesn't have that kind of value. I'm making things that people don't really need. I'm selling things that really don't add value to their life. I'm in a retail store where they're buying junk. They're buying things that they don't need. I'm manufacturing things, or I'm selling a serviceable product that I really don't believe makes a difference. How do you have purposeful life when you're in one of these positions that you can't really identify with being of great value to people?
But that's very true. If you are working manufacturing cigarettes, then how can you be good with yourself? Every day you are killing people, you are destroying people's life. So we have to realign ourselves, get out of those jobs which are subtracting value, get into the jobs which are adding value. Now, the grocery store clerk is not useless, because once you realize there are people who are coming here and they're buying food, so you can be helpful to them. You can be of value to them. And there are grocery stores which I go to, I don't want to name. And I'll give you an example, Ray. I was in Switzerland, in a small town called Basel, rather not Basel, Basel. And it's a small little town, and we were taking a vacation. My wife was with me, and we were in a store at 11:30 a.m. in the morning, and this was a general store. And so Dolly mentioned this, that we have been away for almost 2 weeks now. I wonder if there was an Indian restaurant in this town. I wanted to eat Indian food. And I said, well, we'll find out. And we were still looking around. Within 5 minutes or so, this clerk comes to us, this young lady, say, sir, pardon me, I overheard you that you were looking for an Indian restaurant. And I did some research. And there are 2 Indian restaurants. One is only 10 minutes away, but that is South Indian. But I also did a research because you were a turban. So you are from North India. So there is a North Indian restaurant, which is about 15 miles away. But I checked the taxi for this. This is the cost of the taxis. I made reservation at this North Indian restaurant in case you want to go. And I can call a taxi for you. And this is the cost of that. And that restaurant has, this is their menu. I pulled their menu. So she showed us the menu. Now that is adding value.
Wow.
How can that clerk feel lonely? And how can that clerk feel bored? So we don't do that. Our clerks are taught to say, come in front of you, can I help you? It's like putting a slap in your face. They say, no, thank you. And we are not training our people to add value. We are not bringing meaning in their life. There is no job, Ray, where you cannot add value.
Boy, did you get that girl's name and number? Because I'd like to hire her. That's exactly the kind
instead of hiring, there is another problem. We hire only good people. What we should do is we hire anybody and convert them in good people. Our position of job is our employment place is not just about making product. It is also about transforming human beings. And until both things go together, we will have a sick society.
So the bottom line, as I look at the clock on the wall here, Ratanjit, is that your continued theme of adding the highest value is what we are called to do, whether we are the employer or the employee, whether we are the retiree at the end of our career, whether we are the child who is just starting on the path, the parent that is guiding that child, whatever it is, that needs to be the focus of our every minute of our life, is to ask that question. Because when we walk into that room with 5 people that are miserable, it's the easy path to be miserable with them. It doesn't add any value. It truly doesn't. The adding value point comes in that says, how do I change this mood? How do I bring energy and vibrancy and creativity to this room? And in the job, if I'm bored working every single day and everybody's bored around me and we're super busy, but we're super bored, what can I do to shake it up, to bring some excitement, to bring some purpose to it? I mean, it seems so very simple of an answer, but it also seems like that is truly the only answer, is to add the highest, think about how can we add the highest value to every situation, every encounter. I know you've said that over and over again, but it really is that easy, isn't it?
Yep. See, there is a channel we pick up by picking a profession, whether we become a doctor or an engineer or a janitor. But our purpose does not change. Our purpose is still to add the highest value. There was a janitor working at a company, a huge company called Lubrizol. And that janitor was such an effective, amazing person. Eventually, that janitor became the CEO of that company because of this value-adding attitude. And of course, he brought himself, he did some evening classes and went into college and got educated and everything. But ultimately, his attitude of making a difference and adding the highest value made him what? From janitor to the CEO. So yeah, there is
Amazing.
no janitor.
Ratanjit, we do have to go. Thank you so much for sharing your thoughts on this and giving us your love and your wonderful ideas. We will look forward to being back with you next week. And thank you to all of our Zoom guests and to all of our listeners, viewers, wherever and however you may be. We hope that we've added value to your life. Remember, folks, we're all playing the same game. Have a great day.